Girivardha Hari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiara Panachari Yamuna Tiara Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardha Hari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardha Hari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiara Banachari Yamuna Tiara Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardha Hari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardha Hari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiara Banachari Yamuna Tiara Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardha Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardha Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiara Banachari Yamuna Tiara Banachari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21, and I believe it is text 46. And it goes a little something like this. Putrena Jayate Lokan Iti Sachavati Shruti Brahma Danda Hata Papo Yad Venu Tyatarat Tamaha Putrena Jayate Lokan Iti Sachavati Shruti Brahmadanda Hata Papo Yadvenu Jyataratamaha Putrena Jayate Lokan Sachavati Shruti Brahmadanda Hata Papo Yadvenu Tyataratamaha Putrena Jayate Lokan Iti Sachavati Shruti Brahmadanda Hata Papo Yadvenu Tyataratamaha Putrena Jayate Lokan Iti Sachavati Shruti Brahmadanda hata papo yadvenu tyataratamaha. Putrena, by the son. Jayate, one becomes victorious. Lokan, all the heavenly planets. Iti, thus. Satyavati becomes true. Shruti, the Vedas. Brahmadanda, by the curse of the Brahmanas. Hataha, killed. Papaha, the most sinful. I lose my place there. Most sinful. Oh, Yat, as. Venaha, the father of Maharaj Prithu. Ati, great. Atarat, became delivered. Tamaha, from the darkness of hellish life. Translation. They all declared that the Vedic conclusion that one can conquer the heavenly planets by the action of a putra or son was fulfilled. For the most sinful Vena, who had been killed by the curse of the Brahmanas, was now delivered from the darkest region of hellish life by his son, Maharaj Prithu. Purport. According to the Vedic version, there is a hellish planet called Put, and one who delivers a person from there is called Putra. The purpose of marriage, therefore, is to have a Putra or son who is able to deliver his father, even if the father falls down to the hellish condition of Put. Maharaj Prithu's father, Venu, was a most sinful person and was therefore cursed to death by the Brahmanas. Now all the great saintly persons, sages, and Brahmanas present in the meeting, after hearing from Maharaj Prithu about his great mission in life, became convinced that the statement of the Vedas has been fully proved. The purposes of accepting a wife in religious marriage, as sanctioned in the Vedas, is to have a putra, a son qualified to deliver his father from the darkest region of hellish life. Marriage is not intended for sense gratification, but for getting a son fully qualified to deliver his father. But if a son is raised to become an unqualified demon, how can he deliver his father from hellish life? It is therefore the duty of the father to become a Vaishnava and raise his children to become Vaishnavas. Then, even if by chance the father falls into a hellish life, in the next birth, such a son can deliver him, as Maharaj Prithu delivered his father. We'll read the verse again together. They all declared that the Vedic conclusion that one can conquer the heavenly planets by the action of a putra or son was fulfilled. For the most sinful Vena, who had been killed by the curse of the Brahmanas, was now delivered from the darkest region of hellish life by his son Maharaj Prithu. Om Jnana Timiranya Sakana Salakaya Chaksuri Militadina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we'll try to gain something from here. Many people, before they do Bhagavatam class, they offer a litany of all kinds of prayers, but only on certain occasions did Prabhupada use that. It seemed that he usually got right to the subject matter at hand. Instead of, I don't fault it if someone wants to read so many prayers, but I find that maybe because Prabhupada prayed to me, that wrote to me that I'm praying to Krishna that you will have the strength and enthusiasm to carry out this mission. Who here listens to lectures of Prabhupada? Who here listens to lectures of Prabhupada? Do you notice that he normally doesn't start with all the Premadrani prayers? He just goes from the verse to the subject matter. If it helps people to do those, it's fine. But it's also, the main important thing is to keep to the verse. And then once we start reading it, lecture on that, because it's confusing when you read a verse, but then you lecture on something else. So, he's talking here about a putra. Maharaj, in the beginning of the 4th chapter, Krishna says, in the beginning of creation, I instructed this knowledge to the sun god Vivishvan. Vivishvan imparted it to Manu, and Manu imparted it to his son Ikshvaku. So I hope my son Ikshvaku is able to deliver me if I go to sinful life. But Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee, and he was always praying that he not fall into the material world. It's better to think that way, even if we think we're covered, like a pure devotee is covered. It's better to be careful. Just like the person that thinks, I'm making plenty of money, I can't go broke. Or I know how to drive, I can get drunk and drive blindfolded, right? Not very far. So it is better for us to be careful, because Maya comes up with all kinds of tricks. First, attempting with sense gratification. If that doesn't work, look how great we are that we're able to resist those things. So, what is the statement in this purport that most people would disagree with? And they run their life differently. Who can look at it and think, what in this purport would most people not go along with? Who can think of what it is? And marriage is what? Marriage is not intended for what? Do most people think that? Do they? No, most people don't think it. They think it is intended for sense gratification, isn't it? It's like politics, quid pro quo. I give you something, you give me something. And they have the halo effect. I'm sure it works for men too, but with women, they think if a woman is beautiful, then she must also be smart and caring and able to do all kinds of things. A woman may look ordinary and be very intelligent. One may be very beautiful but be dumb as a post, right? But the men think that if she looks beautiful, then everything else is fine, because that's all that really matters, is how to satisfy these senses. But there's a few problems with this. One, I remember reading somewhere, it was written on a towel that my parents had. The life I lead is way too fragile for the body I live inside. Or the body I live inside of is way too fragile for the life I lead. because people want to enjoy so much, but the body can only take so much. And so we think it's entitled to sense gratification. Quite often I've seen things with people where they say going back to the time when people sat and talked to each other. You know, of course, I have to keep contact with the world, and I have to know India's 3.5 hours ahead, and Indonesia's 6 hours ahead. California is 9 hours behind. Hawaii is 12 hours behind, because I have to contact people there. And I see how hard it must be for GBCs and gurus having people in different areas to take care of. And it seems like things are there for me to take care of just before I'm ready to leave for another location. But fortunately, I have children, a son and a daughter, who know how to take care of things. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to come here and be with you, because there's business to be taken care of. If it falls apart, then I would be owing money and not able to pay for a ticket to come here. Because they take care of business, I'm able to pay my own tickets to here, pay my own tickets to India, give money to my home temple, and give money to the temple of the Vedic planetarium. You're fortunate here, you have a big congregation, and they give. Some places have it more difficult. It is a little more difficult than it used to be, isn't it? Would you say so? Who would say so? Nikunja, would you say it's a little more difficult for people to give than it used to be? Yes? The rand has gone down. It was easy for me to collect money selling books. I owed a $10,000 debt to the book fund. When the rand went from $1.20 to $1.50, I now only had to collect 10,000 rand instead of 12,500 to pay off the $10,000 debt, the $15,000 debt. Today I'd have to collect 300,000 rand. The rand is 1/30th of what it used to be. So that 200 rand note is now only $10. 50 years ago, it was $300. But we somehow have to make do. They have that trouble in Laguna Beach, that it's an expensive town. It's too expensive to live there. You can't touch anything there, even a small shack, for under 20 million rand. And most properties are somewhere more like 100 to 100 million rand, up to 2 billion rand. There's a couple of properties at that. Imagine that, 2 billion rand property. Those people pay a property tax of 2 million rand per month in property tax. You imagine that? So fortunately, I have a son and a daughter who can take care of things, because otherwise it's difficult with things to take care of, to be able to go to different places. And it feels a little funny here. I never feel like I can do enough. I feel like I've stayed too long. I've probably overstayed my welcome. Yet at the same time, I feel like I should be there longer, because some people say you need to be here longer and there's more things to do. But I somehow have to divide my time between the different places and realize that I'm not perfect. We all just have to do the best we can do. But that's why when I'm here, I try to go around and talk to each and every devotee. Because one of the things it shows, like Jayapataka Swami says, that people want to see how much you care before they care how much you know. Maharaj Prithu is the incarnation of Krishna. He's the king, and yet he's glorifying the others, and he's showing that how he's the kind friend. Krishna explains that. One who's not envious, but a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in happiness and distress. Who has that down perfectly? Raise your hand. But you see, if you're a kind friend, you can't be envious. And if you're envious, you can't be a kind friend. And so we have to be thinking of how we can help others. This is what Maharaj Prithu was doing. So when a person is thinking, Bhaktivinoda Thakur got married, was he praying to have a whole lot of sense gratification with his wife? What did he pray for? Does someone know? He asked to get a ray of Vishnu. Did he get it? Bhaktisiddhanta? It took Bhaktisiddhanta 7 years to memorize Bhagavad Gita. Of course, the first 7 years. Anybody here memorized it before 10? He memorized it by age 7. Is that pretty good? It's amazing, right? He got a ray of Vishnu. So he was thinking, how can I have, when they're thinking, let me bring a child into this world who can benefit the society. And let me bring people to the temple that we can treat like our children. It's difficult because we have to instruct people and care for them at the same time. That's why we have to know here, like Maharaj Prithu is doing, when to show regulative principles and when not. At a lecture for newcomers, especially if people come from the college with boyfriends and girlfriends, we maybe don't start the lecture talking about the values of brahmachari life and you can't get initiated unless you give up illicit sex. You don't start at that point. And then when we describe these things, we do it, we have to know, Prabhupada talks very much about the cases in English. Because if we're going to introduce regulative principles, you do it in the objective case. If someone lights a cigarette, you don't say, hey, you can't smoke here. You say, I'm sorry, smoking is not allowed on the property. It's an objective thing. You're not insulting that person. You're telling something that there's one group that the brahmacharis can't have sex and smoke cigarettes, but the sannyasis can because they're renounced. Does that sound a little strange? They're renounced so they can do unrenounced things? Right? It's like saying, well, these people can drink because they're sober. It doesn't make sense. So the different things apply for all there, but we do it in an objective manner. And when we teach things to people, we teach it as Krishna does in Bhagavad Gita. He talks more about the cost to benefit. If you surrender to me and follow these regulative principles of freedom, you get freedom. You get out of the material world. You go back to Krishna. He says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetitak vataha tak vadeya punarjanma naiti mam itis Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, come back to the material world, but returns to my abode. You hear the birds are translating that into bird language? Good job there. So this is if you study them, this is what the result is. It's like while contemplating the objects of the senses, you develop attachment from them. From such attachment, lust arises. From lust, anger develops. From anger, one goes into illusion. When illusion, one has bewilderment of memory, and then he falls in the material pool. So he explains what happens, how certain actions bring certain reactions. Is not telling people, like some groups, if you don't accept Jesus, you go to hell. And if you just accept Jesus, you don't have to do anything more. But we find it's a little more difficult than that. Just like a husband and wife, they don't have to say yes, you just accept that you're married. Don't they have to do certain things? So here's what the purpose of the marriage is, and to set a good example. It's like Tukaram and his wife in Laguna Beach. They've never been with anybody else. And they're both big, strong, good-looking people. They're both Kshatriya types. That's why 2 of his children do the mixed martial arts. Well, 4 of his children do the mixed martial arts, but 2 of them are the number 1 in their country in their size and age group, in a country with 350 million people. So when we have people who can succeed in things, then people will listen to them. And it's amazing. We have to look here to see, help people fulfill this purpose of devotion. Quite often, devotees are always trying to discount what someone else does. Tukaram in Laguna Beach had given a lecture like that. Some people are always trying to discount what things you did and say, yeah, it's not enough. And I said, what did you do today? He said, well, somebody didn't show up for the Artik, so I had to do the Artik. And I said jokingly, yeah, but I bet it was just the dupe Artik, the short one, wasn't it? And he broke out laughing because we see someone's always looking to take the opportunity, right? Someone says they gave a class. I bet it was just the short one at noon, though. It wasn't the important one, was it? Oh, you did the Artik. Yeah, but I bet it was just the dupe Artik. Oh, and I offered the prasadam. Yeah, but I bet it was just the easy one. We should be looking to uplift devotees and be happy with what they're doing, even if we try to encourage them to do more. It's true we sometimes want to encourage people to do more, but sometimes we have to be satisfied that people do things regularly and they continue to do them. Sometimes we have to know when not to push people like the computer does. My granddaughter was selling clothing at the store. She was selling $300. You have to multiply this by 20. So $300 would be what, 6,000 Rand an hour? And the other girls were selling 400 Rand an hour. So the computer decided everyone should do 30% more. So it decided that she had to do, 30% more than 600 would be 7,800 Rand. And the other girls had to do 520 Rand. But if she's already selling 6,000 and the others have to move from 400 to 500, wouldn't it be better to just tell her to stick with what she's at? Even if the other girls sell 30% more, it's only 1/8 of what she's already selling. So we have to delicately think if people can do more. It's a delicate balance because we don't want people in the mode of ignorance. Sometimes people move very slow in this country. We were talking about that earlier, right? Some people take 20 minutes to do something that could have been done in 3 or 4. Doesn't mean we hurry it up and rush off, right? It means that we try to do it attentively. But there's things to train us to do this. How often is the Mangal Artik supposed to begin at 4:30? How often is the prasadam supposed to be offered at a certain time? It has to be done by a certain time. We have to try to do these correctly. So we see this is a hard thing to train people in marriage because Rupa Goswami uses the example that young boys and young girls are so automatically attracted to each other that that he's saying that just like that, one can become attracted to Krishna. And Prabhupada is saying in one lecture in Hawaii that this is our austerity. He's saying, he said that even if it's difficult, we have to follow these. Even if it's difficult to not see things in relation to what we want for our sense gratification. He says young boys and young girls are attracted. This is not surprising. This is what happens. But if somebody thinks intelligently, how can I find someone who will give me good children? And from that, the children can take care of business and they can save us. Think of somebody who does intelligent things. We see some of the people here, like we had the award ceremony, and so many of the children have studied the Bhagavad Gita. They're born in a devotee family. There's different kinds of parents. One parents do all kinds of nonsense. Another parents try to push their children, keep them involved in lots of activities, and are real strict with what they do. And another kind set a good example about being responsible and being a devotee. Which of those three do you think actually does the best with good parenting? Who would say the one that's the strictest? Make the children chant rounds. Make them follow the things. Would that be the best? Or the one that sets the example is the best? It's true, they find out the one that sets the example is the best. Some people in strict Hindu families, they try to really get down on the children. Why don't we eat meat? We just do it because that's what we do. Well, that's not a good reason. There might be good reasons, but that isn't a good one just to say that. So quite often those children come to America and they break every single regulative principle just because they haven't been given a good reason. And the people who set a good example with love, automatically the children want to do it. And some of us don't have children. Some of people are sannyasis and brahmacharis, and some people don't have them. Then they can take on other people and treat those people as their children. Help them grow. We realize with children, in the beginning you discipline them, but when they get older later, you can't continue to discipline them. Some people let their children do anything and everything till age 16, and then they start trying to reel them in and really heavily over-discipline them. That doesn't work very well. You have to become a friend to them. Let them make their own decisions then. Don't make them think, if you do this wrong, you're going to disappoint me. Quite often the parents that do that, the person thinks, well, it doesn't matter if I do something wrong. It disappoints my parents, but it doesn't hurt me. Whereas a parent has a little detachment and says, hey, it was like the one person was a sports figure, and he was doing lots of drugs. And the parent says, you know what? We really can't do anything to help you. And we're not going to discipline you in any way. But we got a life insurance policy out on you with ourselves as the beneficiaries because we don't think you're going to live very long. Can you please sign this for us? Because if you're going to kill yourself soon, we should get a benefit. Sounds like a good, a selfish thing to do. But that person straightened his act out, gave up the alcohol and drugs, and straightened him out, because when the parents are thinking, you're going to die, we need life insurance on you, it makes them think about it. Instead of saying, you're disappointing me, or this and that, let them think, you have to face the consequences for this. If you commit a crime and the police arrest you, I don't have to feel bad. You're the one going to jail. So you let the children know that you are rooting for them. But if they do something wrong, you're not going to be upset with them. They're going to suffer their own consequences. And then the children become responsible. If we don't let them know about consequences, it's difficult, because if we try to discipline them too much when they're older, or we try to do everything for them. I know, like for me, making the bed was hard because I grew up in a family where the maid made the bed. Bad thing to do. The child should be taught to do some of the things on their own. You have to learn them later in life. And it's a difficult balance. We have to know for children when we drop everything and help them out, and when we let them fall if they have to, so that they can realize the consequences and pick themselves up. And this is a difficult thing to do. It quite often requires talking with people who are detached from the situation. Because our child does something good, we may be elated. They do something bad, we're scared. To an outside person, it's just an event. Just like the armored truck was robbed, to us it's just an event. They blew the truck up, they shot 4 innocent people, it's just an event. But if it's a family member, then you take it totally differently. So we have to get advice from people who are detached in this manner. Because quite often this is a hard thing to do, because we want the children to turn around and be able to save us. that they'll always be our children and we can be there for them, but we have to know when they needed to do it on their own and when they need the help. It's quite often like Tukaram says on Laguna Beach with devotees. Quite often you give people a little more credit than they really deserve, and then they try to live up to that, what you've given them. You're such a good preacher. You give such a good class because you really study those books before you give the class. And they think, oh, I better study those books before I give class. I better do some reading so I can live up to what he thinks I can do. So quite often it's good to give people the accolades so that they need to come up to it. And it's difficult because we don't want to give credit to people where it's not due, but we want to give them the ability to be able to do it on their own. Not make them think you're going to rescue them, or not tell, like one guy, he said, my daughter does terrible in school. I said, well, maybe you should quit telling her you can't do anything right. You can't do anything right, why try? So it's a difficult balance. You don't want to tell the child that. But when they do something wrong, it's quite often better to just let them suffer their own consequence. Not get mad at them for it, not try to rescue them from it. That they suffer the consequence, they might realize what they need to do. And it's a difficult thing to do in that with them. But the best thing is to set the example yourself and to do this with people we're trying to guide. Let them know when it's time to take more responsibility. It's like Prabhupada says, there's three kinds of disciples. One disciple won't even do what he needs to do when he's asked to do it or when he's told to do it. Another one won't do it even when he's told to do it. Another one will do what he's supposed to do when he's told. Someone else figures out what to do and does it ahead of time. They already know what's expected, and they know how to take responsibility for other people and how to help guide those people in Krishna consciousness. Because it's one thing to do things in Krishna consciousness, but we have to do here like create people, whether they're our children or not, who are like putras. This is what Raghunath Bhatta does. He gets people in the Namhata. He doesn't just say, hey, you do it on your own and figure out what you're doing, but he trains them what to do and then gradually puts them in the responsibility as they know what to do. Then he lets them do it on their own. So it's a delicate balance. You just don't say, well, you can figure it out on your own, or don't do anything without asking me. Both extremes are not good. You train people to do it. This is one of the things they do more in the Bhakti Vrikshas than in the Namhatas. Not that they don't in Namhatas, but Bhakti Vrikshas is set up that way. It's set that you have a leader and a servant leader. And right from the start, the servant leader is training to be the leader of the next group. And when the Bhakti Vriksha gets to 15 people, it's supposed to split in half. And then that group is supposed to get another 7, 8 members, and then it splits in half again. And each time, the idea is each person is teaching one while being taught by one. So we shouldn't think, hey, I'm just the teacher. No, we each learn from other devotees and from Prabhupada. And we each teach someone else at the same time. And the people we're teaching, they can teach other people. Maybe you can teach the lecture on Krishna consciousness, its mortology and ontology, or you can just show people where the deities are, show them where the mantra card is, know how to deal with them, know that when it's certain principles like shoes are not allowed in the temple, that's when it's the objective case, say, hey, you can't wear shoes. And when is it nominative case, personal? When you're saying it's an invitation, oh, I would like to specially invite you to the temple. It's true that you give them to many people, but you don't say that. You say, I would like to give you a special invitation to come to our Sunday program. Some people think, can I go there without an invitation? So they say that in sales. You solve the objection before it comes up. So if people think, can I come without an invitation? How do you solve that objection? How? You give them an invitation. Because if they think they need an invitation, if they have one, now that problem is already solved. Now, of course, it's not a problem. I've never seen anyone at the door ask for invitations. But there's some people who won't come because they're afraid they can't come without an invitation. And they're afraid of other things. You go to some churches, they look at you, what are you doing here? You're an outsider. One person said to Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, well, I can't go there. That's a Hindi temple. He said, with my red hair, do I look like a Hindi person to you? And other people think, well, they'll close the doors and say, oh no, now you, we would like you to join this church. Well, I'm not sure. Oh no, you're joining. The door is locked now. Some big guy tells you, oh no, you're joining. You can't go anywhere now. They tell you, would you like to join our church now? After they've talked to you for 5 minutes. So we have to remember these things. But we have to know about the sense gratification. Do we just tell people it's wrong? We don't enjoy. No, we enjoy on a higher level. If I tell you, you go quit your job at the ShopRite. I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to put you through school and get a master's degree in business. And we'll give you a job that makes you 20 million rand a year. Now will you quit your job at the ShopRite? Or do you have to think about it? You do have to quit it. You have to stop working for the ShopRite and study to be a master in business. So you do have to stop. You give up the sense gratification and serve Krishna's senses instead. It is required you give up the job at ShopRite to become the CEO of a company, unless you're CEO of ShopRite. But if the benefit outweighs the cost, this is what Sankhya is, adding it up. If the cost is 10 times, but the benefit is 100, is it worth it? What if the cost is only 1/2, but the benefit is only 1/10? Hey, but the cost is 1/2. But the benefit is so much less. So if the cost is a little more, you have to look at the ratio. If you work twice as hard but make 20 times the money, isn't that better? You have to look at the ratio, the cost to value ratio. You can't think, well, I have to work a little harder there, so I don't want to do that. So we think people give up sense gratification. Why? Because they're told they'll go to hell? Because they get something better. It discouraged me in the junior high, which was obviously a few years back, more than 5.5, probably about 6 back, but we're talking decades. And it's talked about the law of diminishing returns. Can someone explain that? It explains why you buy the 500 liters of soda, you're going to pay more per ounce than you will for the 2 liter, the 4 times size. You know why? Because the more you take of it, the less you enjoy it. So they have to sell the bigger amount for less, because the more you take, the less you enjoy. They use this in advertising. It says, are you smoking more but enjoying it less? Are they? Of course they are. But you know what the advertising says? Switch brands. Of course that's the answer, right? Of course that's the solution in their mind. But it can't be. So spiritual life is not like that. It's Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, an ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. So will we give up the thing that, was it B.B. King sang the song, The Thrill Is Gone? Can people relate to that? This is why they have trouble. They get together for sense gratification. They're tired of that. They want something new. There's another song, I'm looking for a new love. You see how people think. Because the thrill is gone. Does that happen with things in the material world? After a while, the thrill is gone. You're chewing the chewed. It can be the sugarcane juice or the bubble gum. The more you chew it, do you get more juice or less? Pretty soon it just tastes like rubber, right? And the students put it under their desk sometimes and take it out and chew it the next day. Is that chewing the chewed? Is there any juice left? Did it somehow get more juice? You're chewing the chewed, and that's why the more you take, the less you enjoy of it. But we can get an ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. Because if Krishna is the reservoir of pleasure, if he's the root of the tree, if we water that root that's the reservoir of pleasure, then we're automatically going to enjoy. I'll stop there, so I leave tomorrow. I'll be back sometime if I'm welcome. I try to come back in October, and then again later. Maybe I'll come a little. Not as much happens in December. Maybe I'll come later in December. Anybody not want me to come back? No one said that. That's good. I always wish I could do more, but it's better to say that. The one Swami in Vrindavan says we should never be satisfied with our reading and chanting and our service. We should always want to be able to do more. But the best thing we can do is encourage others to be steady and to live trying to serve Krishna's senses and to think how we can help other people become Krishna conscious. Remember, we don't beat people up immediately. Prabhupada says we go in like a needle and come out like a plow. It's a long road from the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga. But the main thing is to know how to get someone started. Prabhupada says, you come and join our temple and give up illicit sex and intoxication, and you come every day at Mangal Arti. He says, just come and watch what we do. That's why here we have places. Some of the people you see at the class on Sunday are sitting in front. Others are in chairs. Some people are sitting along there. Some people are standing in the back. Some people just come for a short time. We like it if people come for Artik class and then the Artik again and Prasadam. But if someone's a couple minutes late, do we go, hey, it's 11:02. The program started at 11. Where were you? They're missing out on it, right? But do we do that? Never seen anyone do that, have you? Point to someone, where were you at 11 o'clock? Even they're missing out, it's not a good way to approach it. If you haven't seen someone in a while, you don't say, where have you been? You say, oh gosh, I sure missed seeing you. We have to remember how to present it, in which cases we use. We serve Krishna in the dative case, which means what I do for you, which they don't even use that in English, which shows how selfish it is. We serve Krishna in the dative case. We do principles in the objective case, and when we talk to people, it's personal. I'm personally inviting you to the temple because maybe they think they can come without an invitation, maybe they can't. But it's better to solve that objection before it even comes up. Any questions or comments? I get to give class tomorrow, so corrections, chastisements, additions, subtractions?
Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Personally, I'd like to say thank you for taking the great effort of coming and servicing us annually. I would, notably from on my own observation, what I most admire is how regular you are attending Mangal Harti. And you set an example, a very great example. Thank you.
That's because someone told me they would beat me. But that's like saying, wow, you're so regulated. Every time they give kilos of gold away, you're the first one to show up. Why is that? Well, because I get something out of it. If I didn't get something out of it, would I be here? I'd be on the beach in Bali or something, right? If I didn't get something, if it wasn't great to see, you see, like it's always great to see Radha and Radhanath. But you know when I think they're the most happy to see me? About 4:31 and a tenth? No, 4:30 and a quarter, just after the curtain opens, right? And I can't attend them all, but I try to attend it because I get something out of it. And if you don't attend, of course, you get nothing from it, right? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So we do it, and if you want to do it, you don't feel like you have to do it. If I can't always do it, is I need extra sleep because I have issues with passing water and in the sciatica. So if I stay out late at a program, I can't come to the Mangalartik too. So I have to be practical and do the needful. But I sure try to come when there's something. They don't offer it anywhere else, do they? At least not in Chatsworth, right? Any other question or comment? Is that it? Shall we break for prasadam? Hare Krishna.